Someone made a serious mistake here, a mistake that will cost millions to fix. From misaligned bridges to the playground slide of death, here are the 15 most funny engineering fails. Number 15. Misaligned bridge. Building bridges is one of the toughest projects in the engineering world, from incredible heights to heavy lifting. There's not one part of the job that can be overlooked or disregarded. You may have seen bridges collapsing from unsuitable construction, but have you ever seen a misaligned bridge? Well, even though it seems like some of these masterminds tried their best to build a bridge, something must have gone wrong during mid-project. It's safe to call this misalignment a total engineering fail. Number 14. Stairway to nowhere. Stairs have some of the easiest functions in the world. Their main goal is to transport people from floors and levels, but sometimes that easy task simply can't be done. While these stairs were meant to be exit ways out of apartment buildings and houses, engineers must have overlooked fine detailing in the blueprints and accidentally built stairways near windows or dead ends. It's even worse when a staircase mishap happens during mid-construction, and you realize there's nothing that can be done to fix the problem. Number 13. Railway mishaps. Railways are one of the major components of successful train rides and transportation. Without the proper lines or railroads, trains can't get from point A to point B, or even worse, can get into major road accidents.
Oh my God!
Engineers of these railroads should have thought about the consequences before they introduced the finished train lines. From misaligned metal lines to electrical poles in the middle of railroads, there are numerous ways an engineer can mess up the construction of a successfully working train line. Number 12. ATM. Withdrawing cash from ATM machines shouldn't be something one has to struggle with or even have to physically work hard for. Unfortunately, some have had their fair share of problems with ATM machines. Builders must not have paid too much attention to the blueprints, because these cash withdrawing machines require too much work. While one ATM was built too high for any human to reach, the other had the opposite story, being constructed too low and too close to the ground, where people had to actually crouch to withdraw their cash.
Okay.
Number 11. Playground slides. Any kid loves spending time on the playground. What's better than playing with your friends on the monkey bars, seesaws, and swings? Plastic slides are undeniably one of the best parts of playgrounds. Attached to elaborate park houses and equipment, there's no better feeling than sliding down in victory. But imagine going to the playground to enjoy your free time and discovering that if you go on the slide, you may end up elsewhere. Not the greatest idea to place that manhole right below a slide. Number 10. Escalator fails. Just like stairs, escalators have pretty easy functions and goals, but their construction and mechanics are somewhat more intricate and detailed. In the United States alone, it's estimated that over 245 million people take an escalator daily, and it's no shocker. These moving staircases are almost everywhere, from shopping malls and hotels to banks and airports. Everyone has gone up and down at least once in their lifetime, and while the main problems that might occasionally occur with escalators are purely technical, sometimes even bigger problems arise that have to do with proper engineering and construction. In one shopping mall, customers were warned not to ride the escalators as they might end up with serious head injuries. The construction workers might have overlooked the actual lengths and heights of floors, as this particular escalator was built under mysterious proportions. But remember, if you do end up having to go up on these types of staircases, remember to duck, or you might end up having to take a road trip down to the emergency room. Another engineering fail that some may call an escalator that needs to nowhere happened in an educational establishment. The full functioning escalator had an unfortunate placement, as exiting it created a big problem. At least some students had fun with this fail and didn't waste any time to showcase how ridiculous this mishap truly was. Number 9. Handicap fails. Handicap ramps are built for those individuals who have physical disabilities and need wheelchairs in their everyday lifestyles. Handicapped people have assigned places specially made to accommodate their physical disabilities. From parking spaces to ramps, almost every big establishment has these assigned designs. Handicap ramps are usually small, inclined planes that are installed next to the staircase to help wheelchair-bound people transport easier. As these ramps are bolted down and permanent, it's paramount that these inclined planes are built perfectly for comfort and accessibility. But alas, engineering fails still occur that leave people scratching their heads. Some construction workers may have misinterpreted the proper incline levels or heights, as these ramps have incredibly dangerous heights to them. Instead of elongating the ramps to slowly decline in height, these handicap fails chose to display more vertically designed ramps. These misshapen ramps would be difficult for people without any physical disabilities, not to mention those who are handicapped and wheelchair-bound. While some ramps are just too high in incline, others simply are non-functioning. The main function of these ramps is for disabled people to avoid taking the stairs and not have them placed in the middle of the ramps. But deformed ramps, unfortunately, aren't the only type of engineering fails that handicapped people have to deal with. Sometimes, in the middle of assigned disabled parking spaces, some obstacle can be traced back to the engineers that worked on these projects. Imagine riding next to the designated handicap parking space and finding a tall tree or a metal pole in the middle of it. But more often, instead of metal poles, there are simply no ramps or proper space for wheelchair-bound people to exit the parking spaces. Some parking spots are simply too small for any typical size vehicle to enter and exit out of.
Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Top 5s with notifications on.
Number 8. Balconies. Having your morning coffee on a Sunday morning out on your balcony can be one of the best feelings in the world. As little extensions of your home, balconies can be relaxing and multi-purposeful as well. Unfortunately, these homeowners can't even get to their lovely balconies, as their final construction took a wrong turn. What's the point of building a balcony without an opening or door that will eventually lead you to it? But having no real exits on balconies isn't the only type of engineering fail that's been captured. Construction becomes even more complicated when trees and plants aren't considered during the blueprint drawings and arrangements. Some homeowners have to deal with full-grown trees right in the middle of their relaxing balconies. And if you thought tall trees were the worst that could appear in the middle of your terrace or veranda, think again. Some genius engineers decided to solve the miscalculated constructions by leaving light poles in the middle of the balconies. A+ for effort. Number 7. Bathroom and toilet fails. Bathrooms are some of the most private parts of buildings and homes. It's the perfect balance where one can relax and demand total silence and peace. Well, these next fails are anything but peaceful or tranquil. One engineering fail is so extreme and funny you have to see it with your own eyes to believe it. Have you ever seen a toilet divided in half by a wall? No? Then take a look at this genius creation. The blueprints must have had some wrong calculations and measurements, because no one would build this strange creation on purpose. What's mind-boggling is trying to figure out which structure was originally meant to be in that particular place. Is it the toilet that was misplaced, or did the engineers decide to build a wall on top of it? So many questions, yet so few answers. Everyone who has had a visit to a bathroom stall knows the typical structure: multiple closed-off stalls and a few shared corresponding sinks. These engineers must have disregarded one important part of bathroom stalls when they built these rooms. Can you spot what's wrong with this fail? Yes, all the stalls are missing. Another hilarious mistake that has to do with stalls is this next example. While the stalls are present, their placement totally defeats its actual purpose. At least they remembered to build the stalls in this engineering fail example. And the last examples of bathroom fails have to do with the actual toilets and how their placement ended with unfortunate results. Some of these toilets are built too low and deep into the grounds, while some are just as high as those floating doors.
Now I gotta go to the bathroom. Where's your toilet?
Right here, Peter.
Number 6. Floating doors. From brick walls to floating doors, engineering fails can occur almost anywhere and any part of the house. Door construction and designing may be some of the easiest tasks when building a home, a hotel, or any establishment. The main goal is to carve out enough space mid-project so eventually the right door will fit inside. While attaching specifically sized doors may not be a problem, there's another obstacle that arises. What if a door was built in an unconventional space and not close to the ground? Then what you would end up with are floating doors. Exit points and doors have to be built precisely, because even a few inches of wrong measurements may cause catastrophic results. Some may trip, fall down, or even break a few bones here and there. If a few inches can do so much damage, take a look at these floating doors that can actually be deadly in some cases. This one door in a college or university lecture hall looks like it's something out of a sci-fi movie. One just has to hope that this exit route is not actually functional, because new college students and freshmen might have to learn the lesson the hard way. But if you thought high standing doors in a classroom were bad and dangerous, take a look at these extreme floating doors. what's worse than indoor misplaced doors are the ones that leave straight outside of the building. These particular doors need a warning placed near them so no one walking by makes the deadly mistake. Number 5. Brick windows. You know what they say, when a door closes, a window opens? Well, in most cases at least. Windows have the ability to let sun rays and beautiful blue skies shine through and immediately lift any mood, while reading an interesting book right next to rain-down windows can often feel like movie scenes. While some might think that window engineering fails are almost impossible to accomplish or create, think again and take a look at some of the funniest examples. House attics are a great place for extra storage or even extra room for angsty teenagers who want space. And while a teenager may enjoy bricked-up walls, it's not the ideal design for the rest of the family. One home attic had the unfortunate engineering fail of having chimney bricks line up their window and ultimately disposing of their function. But attic windows aren't the only part of the home that can feature very interesting brick designs. This next home has a brick window right in the middle of their living or their dining room. Not the best place to have family dinners or even game nights. Number 4. Clocks. Speaking of students, everyone can admit that most of their school time was spent looking at the clock and counting down the hours until recess or the end of school day. Clocks are a big part of any classroom, and it's considered to be a school or university tradition to feature one in every room, for either the teacher or the student's sake. And while many have not heard of any clock engineering fails, some students managed to capture some of the funniest school mishaps. In one school, students and teachers found a great way to take care of the misplaced clock and interfering poles. While some might think of simply removing the clock, these bright young minds decided to have a more creative solution to the problem. As the numbers 8, 9, and 10 were hidden under the gray pole, students simply drew the numbers on top of the metal. Problem solved. Another creative way of how people avoided the metal pole and clock problem is by simply dodging the obstacle, because reshaping and bending the pipe is so much easier than removing the clock, right? Number 3. Trees through roofs. Building a dream home can be so exciting. From drawing up the blueprints to deciding where the master bedroom and closet will be, every aspect of constructing a new house can seem thrilling and exhilarating. And that's why so many engineering fails happen. When small little intricate details are overlooked by the bigger picture and overall home size. Whether it's the architect's fault or just the construction workers, these fails are still hilarious and unexpected. While palm trees and any type of gardening embellishments add flavor and beauty to any home or building, these tree fails are anything but desirable. One homeowner has to live with the fact that its outdoor palm tree goes straight through the roof. And this poses the question of which came first, the palm tree or the roof. Another extreme case of trees coming out of houses is this large tree that has mysterious roots. Assuming from the captured photo, this decade-old tree must have had deep roots in the place where the building was intended to be built. So architects and engineers thought of a unique solution. Why not have an opening for the large tree and build the building anyway? Number 2. Power outlets. You may assume that building and attaching the power outlets may be the easiest part of any establishment, but that's where you'd be wrong. These outlets need impeccable attention to detail, because they have to be placed and attached at the points where the wires and light power transverse through. One misalignment and you won't be charging your phone in a power outlet. Not only are misaligned power outlets useless, but they can be quite dangerous as well, especially when there's actual water coming out of them. If water gets inside electrical outlets, it can actually act as conductors of electricity and if not dried out or drained out, may shock someone, or worse, cause death. Let's just hope no one got close to these liquid power outlets or they might have gotten seriously injured or hurt. And that's why constructing sink faucets and handles near electrical outlets are the worst idea. While this sink may not be functional, then why build it in the first place? It's an engineering fail no matter which way you look at it. Number 1. No entries. The main part of any building or establishment is the entry door. From shops and markets to private homes and even hotels, engineering mistakes can happen unexpectedly. While some of these fails can be an architectural mistake of overlooking the details on the blueprint, others are simply unexplainable. One house may have seemed perfectly normal from the front, but once we take a look at the back, we see that a door was supposed to be placed where the blue walls are stretched out. The family might have decided to have an extra exit point in their home as a back door into the building. But from the looks of this engineering fail, some part of the plan must have failed. Take a look at this market example. What was meant to be a shopping center turned out to be a simple wall. One naturally starts to wonder, if the engineers simply forgot to make room for a door or just decided to have the entryway in another spot. Whatever the reason may be for this unfortunate mishap, it's truly funny to see and witness.
Where's the door hole? Goes right there. See, I drew it with a magic marker.
Subscribe to Top 5s for more and check out some of our other popular videos.